The marketplace buzzed with noise, vendors shouting, children laughing, and the clatter of carts on the cracked pavement. But Elias stood frozen, his heart pounding like a drum. His suit, the only one he had left, was torn at the sleeve, the crisp black fabric now stained with dirt and blood. People stared, whispering, pointing at the man in the tattered suit who looked like he'd crawled out of a nightmare. His gray eyes burned with defiance, daring anyone to judge him. He straightened his back, adjusted his frayed tie, and stepped forward, the crowd parting like a sea. "I am more than this," he muttered, his voice low but fierce. Then a shadow loomed behind him, a man with a scar across his cheek, holding a knife that glinted in the sun. "You shouldn't be here, Elias," the man growled. Elias turned, his suit flapping in the wind, and faced the danger head on. What did this man want? Why was Elias, a war survivor, standing in the middle of a bustling market, wearing a suit that screamed of better days, with a blade now inches from his chest? The story rewinds to 3 weeks earlier, in a small, broken village at the edge of a war-torn land. Elias was not always this bold figure in a suit. Once, he was just a boy who loved sketching birds in the margins of his school books. The war changed everything. Bombs fell like rain, turning his home into rubble and his family into memories. Elias, now 30, had survived by hiding in basements, eating scraps, and running from danger. But one thing he kept was his father's suit, a sharp, black outfit his father wore to weddings and funerals. It was the only thing Elias saved when the bombs took everything else. "This suit," his father once said, "shows the world who you are, not what you've lost." Elias wore it every day now, even as it frayed at the edges. The village mocked him at first. "Why wear that old thing?" they'd say, laughing at the man in the suit pushing a cart of scavenged wood. But Elias didn't care. The suit made him feel strong, like he could rise above the ashes of his past. It reminded him of his father's pride, of days before the war when life was simple. Each morning, he'd brush the dust off the suit, tie the tie with shaky hands, and walk into the village, head high. To him, the suit was armor, a shield against despair. But trouble was brewing. The village wasn't safe anymore. A gang, led by a man named Victor with a scar across his cheek, had started demanding taxes from the villagers. They took food, tools, anything they wanted. Elias hated them, but he kept quiet, knowing he couldn't fight them alone. One day, though, he overheard Victor talking about the plan, a raid on the marketplace where the village sold its goods. "We'll take everything," Victor sneered. Elias's heart raced. The marketplace was the village's lifeline. If Victor's gang attacked, everyone would starve. Elias decided he had to act. He didn't have weapons or strength, but he had his suit and the courage it gave him. He began asking questions, sneaking around to learn more about Victor's plan. The villagers noticed him, whispering about the man in the suit who seemed to be everywhere. Some thought he was crazy. Others thought he was up to something big. Then, one night, Elias found a clue, a map Victor had dropped, showing the exact day of the raid. He knew he had to warn the marketplace, but going there meant leaving the village, facing bandits, and risking everything. The next morning, Elias stood in front of his cracked mirror, adjusting his tie. The suit was starting to tear, but he didn't care. He slipped the map into his pocket and headed out. As he walked through the village, people stared, sensing something different about him. He wasn't just a man in a suit anymore. He was a man with a purpose. But as he reached the village's edge, a voice stopped him cold. "Going somewhere, Elias?" It was Victor, his scar gleaming in the moonlight, his men blocking the path. Elias's hand tightened around the map. What would he do now? Elias's heart thumped as Victor's shadow loomed over him, the scar on his cheek twisting in the moonlight. The map in Elias's pocket felt like a burning coal, heavy with secrets. Victor's men circled closer, their boots crunching on the gravel. "You've been snooping, haven't you?" Victor said, his voice sharp like a blade. Elias straightened his suit, the frayed cuffs brushing his wrists, and met Victor's glare. "I'm just walking," Elias said, trying to sound calm. But his mind raced. Did Victor know about the map? If he searched him now, everything would be over. The village, the marketplace, his hope it would all crumble. Then, one of Victor's men lunged forward, grabbing Elias's arm. The suit ripped slightly at the shoulder, and Elias's breath caught. "Search him!" Victor barked. Elias's eyes darted to the dark path leading to the marketplace. Could he run? Could he fight? The answer came in a flash. He had to try something, anything, to protect the map. But what? 3 days earlier, Elias had been a nobody in the village, just a strange man in the suit. After finding the map, he spent every moment planning. He didn't tell anyone, not even Omara, the kind woman who gave him bread when he had nothing. He knew the villagers wouldn't believe him. Victor's gang scared them too much. Elias felt alone, but the suit gave him strength. Every morning, he'd wake up, brush the dust off the black fabric, and whisper to himself, "You're more than this." It was his father's voice in his head, pushing him forward. The suit wasn't just cloth, it was a promise to keep going, no matter how bad things got. Elias had started watching Victor's gang closely. He'd hide behind broken walls, listening to their plans. They laughed about the marketplace, how easy it would be to steal everything. Elias's stomach twisted with anger. The marketplace wasn't just a place to trade. It was where kids got sweets, where mothers bought cloth, where life felt normal again. He couldn't let Victor destroy it. But spying was dangerous. One night, a gang member almost caught him, his flashlight sweeping inches from Elias's hiding spot. Elias pressed himself against the wall, his suit catching on a jagged brick, tearing a small hole. He didn't care the map was what mattered. Now, standing in front of Victor, Elias realized his mistake. He'd been too bold, asking too many questions in the village. Someone must have told Victor he was up to something. The gang leader's eyes narrowed, and he stepped closer. "Empty your pockets," Victor said, his knife glinting. Elias's mind spun. The map was his only proof, his only way to warn the marketplace. If he lost it, no one would believe him. He took a deep breath, feeling the suit's weight on his shoulders, and made a choice. "I don't have anything," he lied, his voice steady. Victor smirked, not believing him. "Then why are you shaking?" he asked, nodding to his men. Suddenly, Elias ducked, slipping out of the man's grip. He bolted toward the dark path, his suit flapping as he ran. The gang shouted, chasing him, their footsteps pounding like thunder. Elias's legs burned, but he didn't stop. The map bounced in his pocket, his only hope. He darted into the forest, branches scratching his face, tearing his suit even more. Behind him, Victor's voice roared, "You can't hide, Elias!" The trees closed in, dark and thick, and Elias tripped, falling hard into the dirt. His suit was filthy now, but he clutched the map tightly. As he scrambled to his feet, he heard the new sound dogs barking, getting closer. Victor's hunting dogs. Elias's heart sank. How could he outrun them? Elias's breath came in ragged gasps as he stumbled through the forest, the barking of Victor's dogs echoing like a death knell. His suit, now torn and caked with mud, clung to his skin, but he didn't care. The map in his pocket was his lifeline, the only way to save the marketplace. Branches snapped under his feet, and the dog's howls grew louder, closer. He tripped again, his knee slamming into a rock, pain shooting through him. For a moment, he thought of giving up. Victor's gang was too strong, too fast. But then he touched the suit's frayed collar, feeling his father's words, "You're more than this." Elias gritted his teeth and pushed forward, the map crinkling in his pocket. Suddenly, a flashlight beam cut through the darkness, landing on his back. "There he is," Victor shouted, Elias's heart stopped as he heard the dogs break into a run. He dove behind a tree, but a hand grabbed his suit, yanking him backward. The fabric tore loudly, and the map slipped from his pocket, fluttering to the ground. Victor's scarred face loomed above him, the map in his hand. "You thought you could stop me?" he snarled. What had Elias done? 2 days earlier, Elias had been piecing together his plan. He spent hours staring at the map, memorizing every line, the marketplace's layout, the date of the raid, the paths Victor's gang would take. He knew he had to get to the marketplace before them, but it was a day's walk, and the roads were crawling with bandits. The suit, though tattered, was his only shield. He wore it proudly, even as the villagers whispered about the crazy man, who thought he could play hero. Mara, the bread giver, was the only one who believed in him. "You've got heart, Elias," she said, pressing a small loaf into his hands. "Don't let that suit fool you. You are strong without it, too." Her words stuck with him, but the suit was his courage, his way of proving he wasn't broken by the war. Elias had tried to warn a few villagers about the raid, but they were too scared of Victor. "You'll get us all killed," one man hissed, shoving him away. Elias's suit caught on a fence, ripping a new hole, but he didn't stop. He knew he had to act alone. That night, he'd slipped out of the village, the map hidden in his pocket. He thought he'd been careful, but Victor's men had eyes everywhere. Now, in the forest, Elias realized his mistake. He'd underestimated Victor's cruelty. Victor held the map up, his knife gleaming as he waved it. "This is your big plan?" he laughed, tearing the map in half. Elias's stomach dropped as the pieces fell to the dirt. His proof, his hope gone. The dogs growled, circling him, and Victor's men grabbed his arms, pinning him down. "You're nothing," Victor spat, kicking Elias in the ribs. Pain exploded, but Elias didn't cry out. He stared at his torn suit, the last piece of his father, and whispered, "I'm more than this." Victor froze, confused by Elias's calm. Then, a new sound broke the night, a loud horn, distant but clear, coming from the direction of the marketplace. Victor's eyes widened. "What did you do?" he demanded. Elias smiled, blood on his lips. Had someone else known about his plan? Elias lay in the dirt, his suit ripped almost beyond recognition, blood trickling from his lip. Victor's men held him down, their grip like iron, while the dogs snarled nearby. The horns echo from the marketplace hung in the air, making Victor's scarred face twist with rage. "Who's out there?" He shouted, scanning the dark forest. Elias's heart raced. Had someone followed him? Had Mara, the only one who believed in him, done something? The horn sounded again, louder, closer, and footsteps crunched in the distance. Victor's men froze, their eyes darting nervously. Elias seized the moment, twisting free from one man's grip, his suit tearing further as he scrambled to his knees. "You're done, Elias!" Victor roared, lunging with his knife. But before the blade could strike, a figure burst from the trees, a boy, no older than 12, holding a rusty horn. "They're coming!" the boy yelled. Who was this kid? And who was coming to the forest? 2 days earlier, Elias had noticed a scrappy kid named Timo watching him in the village. Timo, an orphan like Elias, was always sneaking around, stealing apples or listening to grown-up secrets. Elias caught him staring at the suit one day, wide-eyed. "Why do you wear that?" Timo asked. Elias smiled, brushing his frayed tie. "It reminds me I'm more than what I've lost." Timo didn't laugh like the others. He nodded like he understood. Elias didn't think much of it then, too focused on the map and Victor's plan. But Timo had been watching closer than Elias realized, trailing him when he spied on the gang, even seeing him hide the map. The boy was clever, slipping through shadows, unnoticed by Victor's men. Now, in the forest, Timo's horn blast had changed everything. Victor's men hesitated, and Elias saw his chance. He grabbed the stick, swinging it at the nearest thug, who yelped and stumbled back. The dogs barked wildly, confused by the noise. Elias dove for the torn map pieces, shoving them into his pocket despite their ruin. "Get the boy!" Victor shouted, but Timo was fast, darting through the trees like a fox. The horn sounded again, and now voices shouted in the distance, angry, organized voices. Elias's heart leaped. Were these marketplace guards? Villagers who'd finally found courage? He didn't know, but he ran after Timo, his suit catching on every branch, slowing him down. Pain shot through his ribs, but he pushed on. The suit's weight reminding him to keep going. The forest opened to a clearing, and Elias stopped dead. A group of men stood there, holding torches and crude weapons, pitchforks, shovels, a few old rifles. At their front was old Mara, her eyes fierce. "Elias, you fool!" she called, but there was pride in her voice. Timo ran to her side, grinning. "I told her everything," he said. Elias's jaw dropped. Mara had rallied people to fight Victor, but before he could speak, gunfire cracked through the air. Victor's gang had caught up, and bullets zipped past, splintering trees. Elias dove behind a rock, his suit now barely holding together. Mara shouted, "We fight for the marketplace." The torchlight flickered, and chaos erupted. Elias clutched the map pieces, realizing the battle had just begun. Would they survive Victor's attack,